All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at a couple examples here now. The process that I like to use to do these is called reverse FOIL. Now, there's a lot of different methods you can use to do this. If this process doesn't work well for you, you need to get a hold of me, and we can look at some other processes. But in the past, I think most people that figure this out remember it, and it seems to work well after they've learned it. So, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a little T right here where we're going to break up the factors of the first term and the factors of the last term. Because remember, when you set up your method here, we're going to break this down into two binomials. In other words, we're going to break it down into some binomial times another binomial. Well, the first terms have to give you x squared. The last terms have to give you the negative 12. And how do we get then? The middle term is found by multiplying the outers and the inners and then adding or subtracting them together. Okay? So if we take a look here, ladies and gents, so I'm going to just erase this for a second. Our first term here is a 1x squared. So what I'm going to do up here, I'm going to put a 1x squared because I want to know the factors that multiply together to give me 1x squared. Well, this is easy. For all of these in this week where that leading coefficient is 1, you're only going to have one choice here. What gives you x squared is just x times x. That's not going to change. That's going to stay the same for these types of polynomials. Now, we want to then look at what gives us the last term, negative 12. Now, I'm not going to worry about the sign right now. I'm going to put negative 12 here, but really what I'm looking at is factors that multiply together to give me 12. Now, you can list them in any order, but what I like to do is I like to list them in order. So in other words, I start with 1. Does 1 times something give me 12? Yes, 1 times 12. Then I go to 2. Does 2 multiply times anything to give me 12? You bet, 6. How about 3? Yep, 3 times 4. And then here's how I know I don't have, I've exhausted all my number of factors is, I go to 4 now. Well, what's that? 4 times 3, but I've already done that. That's already right here. And then, again, once you start, like I said, I call it going up and down the ladder. Once you've gone down this side and you start repeating factors like 4 on the other side, you know you've listed them all out. Okay? So in other words, there's only 3 sets of factors that give me 12. All right? Now, which one of these 3 works? And nothing says that any of them will work. But here's the thing is, we need to get any of these to add up to be a negative 12. Okay? Or excuse me, pardon me on that. They need to add up to give me a negative 4. Because where does this negative 4 come from right here is which of these will combine together to give me a negative 4. Okay? So they need to combine to get negative 4. Now, the thing is, this is important right here. This right here, being negative, means that these factors are going to have opposite signs. They're going to have different signs. So in other words, one's going to be positive, one's going to be negative, because they got to multiply together to give you a negative 12. So if I take a look here and think about this, if I have different signs here, for instance, let's look right here at 2 and 6. If I were to make, let's say for instance, this a negative 2 and this a positive 4, okay? What do you get when you take negative 2 times a positive 6? You get negative 12 right here. What do you get when you take a negative 2 and combine it together with a positive 6? You get this middle term of negative 4. So what I think we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is this is our pair of factors, okay? If you were to choose any other pair, like 1 and 12, if you took a negative 1 times a positive 12, it would give you the negative 12, but it doesn't add up to 4. It actually adds up to 11. Even if you switch the signs and make this positive and this negative, you'd then get a negative 11. Same thing down here, if you use different signs, positive 3, negative 4, they do multiply together to give you negative 12, but they don't add up to a 4. They actually add up to negative 1. And if you were to switch the signs, again, negative 3 and positive, you'd still get a positive 1. None of these except the 2 and the 6 multiply together to give us negative 12, but add up to be 4x. Or you could also look at this way. If this is negative up here, this negative 12, these factors have to subtract to give you a positive 4. Okay? So, here's how we finish this up then. How do we do this? We write our binomials, okay? The first factors here are our first factors of our binomials, okay? These are the last factors. Now, I've got to use a sign, -2 and the +6. Now, here's the neat thing is you can check this real easy. We can perform a check. Just see how do we perform a check? We multiply them together. Take x times x, that's x squared. Do your FOIL, in other words. Take x times 6, that's a 6x. Take -2 times x, that's a -2x. And then take it at -2 times 6, that's a -12. Combine your middle two terms together, you get a positive 4x. And look at this, ladies and gentlemen. We end up with the same polynomial we started with. Now, again, this is not our answer. Our answer is this factored polynomial right here, x minus 2, x plus 6. One of those factors has to be an x plus 6, the other one has to be an x minus 2. If you would have written it as x plus 6 first and x minus 2 last, you're still okay. Those are the same two. It's just like saying, it doesn't matter if you write 2 times 10 or 10 times 2, they still give you 20. The only thing is, the positive has to be with the 6, the negative has to be with the 2. Otherwise, you'd end up with a different middle sign. You've actually ended up with a -4x if you switch these two signs around. Okay? All right, so that's the first one. And so let's try a few more in the next videos, and we'll see if you got this. Okay?